Councillor Colburn, I have not seen you for a while.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, please go ahead. We are now live.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Sorry, Madam Clerk. Councillor Colburn, are you having difficulty hearing us? Okay, I will call the meeting to order. I will now call this meeting to order. Prior to commencing the meeting, we have new staff introductions to be completed by each department head. The Director of Operations, Mr. Steve Domer, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Council, I'd like to introduce quite a few new employees that have been recently added to the Operations Department. So I'm going to kind of work my way through the list, so I do apologize. First off, I'd like to start off with a new road supervisor that was hired on for the township. Her name is Kaylee. She's come to us from Grey County and is working really well with some of the new staff and started in July with us. I'm going to work our way to the next employee here. His name is Alex. He was currently an equipment operator with the township of Georgian Bluffs. He recently became upgraded to the lead hand position. So I'd like to say congratulations, Alex. And then also we have Zach as well he's the new facilities operator. He was currently on a contract with us for the last couple months here and is now permanently full-time employee underneath Zach Carson. We're going into the operators now. We've got 5 brand new operators that have just recently started in the last month and a half here. So we're going to start off with Austin. This is Austin. He's working pretty hard out there as well. I got Cody as well coming through. He's from in the area as well. And then we have Dustin as well for the operations team. And then we have Paul. And then we also have Stavros. So these gentlemen are all working part of the operations teams. They are split between the 2 supervisors, Kaylee and Dan, and a lot of them are working on equipment and also doing roadside brushing throughout the township as well, and some other projects on Francis Drive, and then also some ditching programs. I'd like to introduce as well Trevor as well. Councillor Barfoot, I see your hand up.
Councillor Barfoot, you are muted.
Sorry, Steve, I just pushed the wrong button.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with Trevor. He's our new climate action coordinator. He started in July as well. So Trevor, if you can put yourself on the screen for everybody to see you.
It should be on the screen now, if you can see me.
All right, so this is Trevor. He was working closely with myself and also the Climate Action Corps committee as well. And then our last but not least is Hillary. She is one of our summer students here at the township. She is currently working on the trails program, mapping out all our trails within the township of Georgian Bluffs. She's also been a key instrumental part to the survey as well that's currently gone out, and we will be having some more mapping discussions, and she'll be part of the public meeting coming up here on August 31st. So Hillary, if you can put your screen on and give council a nice wave.
I hope everyone can see me. I don't know if that worked. Okay.
So that's all the new hires that have been added into the operations teams. So I'd like to pass it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Steve. Job well done. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. CEO first. Al, you there?
I am, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Just to start off with a bit of a blanket statement, really. It's exciting and encouraging times here for the township. I mean, we've had a recent activity of hiring some exceptionally talented and professional staff, and I believe it will help the township continue to deliver exceptional services to our ratepayers. And I'm hopeful that each and every one of the staff coming in in their own way will challenge our existing staff to do better, be innovative, bring new ideas and perspectives to the table for consideration. So it is indeed exciting times in Georgian Bluffs. But having said that, in our senior planner's absence, I'd like to introduce Chloe Rayburn. Chloe started with us on July 27th in the role of planner, helping bring much needed support to our current senior planner and help with a multitude of planning issues, opportunities, and challenges. Chloe has a bachelor's degree from the University of Guelph and a master's degree in urban and regional planning from Queen's University. Before joining the township, Chloe worked in several planning roles, most recently as planning coordinator in the municipality of Kincardine. As a township, we're fortunate to have had Chloe join us, as well as not only helping us in the planning area, but becoming a valuable member of the team and helping the township further evolve and meet its many growth-related planning challenges. And with that, Chloe, if you'd like to say a few words or say hi to council, please feel free to do so.
Hi, that's a really warm welcome and a great introduction. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being so welcoming and kind to me. Thanks.
Thanks, Chloe. Al, do you have any other employees to introduce?
Mr. Mayor, we do have one more employee that we're going to introduce, but we're going to defer that. That employee had a conflict tonight with a medical appointment that was raised, so she will be introduced by Tim and Jen at an upcoming council meeting.
Thank you, Al. Welcome to all the new staff. We're happy to welcome you to this Georgian Bluffs team. And I don't know, the staff's either getting a lot younger, I'm getting a lot older, but it's quite obvious it's what a bright looking bunch. Anyway, welcome to Georgian Bluffs. Councilor Barfoot, do I see your hand up? You're muted, Carol.
I'd just like to say thank you to Stephen and Al. It is so nice to be able to put a face to the name, and welcome to all the new employees. Then, you know, we should always do this. Every time there's a new employee, they, you know, introduce to council and council introduce to them. The only thing is, when I meet you in the hall and I don't call you by name, so many new faces and so many new names, we should have it. Do all the employees, as council does, have name badges or ID badges?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, all employees have an identification badge with Georgian Bluffs identified as the employer, the employee's name, and a picture of the employee.
That's nice. Thank you very much. And welcome to Georgian Bluffs, everybody.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Barfoot. And again, it's nice to see all these young people come to Georgian Bluffs. So we've no other new staff. It seems different every time I come into the municipal office. I'm wondering if I'm in the right building when I see all the new employees. I'll move on to the agenda. We're down now to our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Georgian Bluffs is strongly committed to growing from learning with and support our local and national First Nations communities, recognizing that there can be no forward process without reconciliation of the past. As a first step in fulfilling this commitment, the township has implemented a land acknowledgement statement to be read at council and committee meetings, recognizing those that were here before us and remaining constants of our shared past, present, and future. Thank you to all those that collaborated with township to create this statement. We look forward to continue to cultivate a strong and mutual relationship moving forward. We acknowledge with respect the history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabeg, the people of the three forests known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. And further give thanks to Chippewa of Saugeen and the Chippewa of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We also recognize the Métis and the Inuit who ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty members, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Thank you. So we'll move on for agenda. We're down to approval of the agenda. Is there any item council would like to add to the agenda here tonight? Seeing none, the recommendation is that the agenda be approved as presented. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Pringle. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, show of hands, all in favor? It is carried. Moving on, declaration of pecuniary interest. You can declare any time you see fit during the meeting. Minutes of the previous meetings. That the minutes of the council meeting held on July 21st, 2021 be adopted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councillor Barfoot. Is there any discussion on this motion? See none, all in favor of the motion, show of hands, please. Is carried. We're now down to our special council meeting. That the minutes of the special council meeting held on August 5th, 2021 be adopted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Pringle, second by Councillor Barfoot. Any discussion on the motion before us? Show of hands, all in favor of the motion? It is carried. We're down to our next recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting held on August 17th, 2021 be adopted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, show of hands, please. The motion has been carried. We're down to announcements. Recognition of local youth ride for ALS. Councillor Pringle, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor there. Yeah, I just thought it was worthy of noting in the township here that what Matt Boakes had done there on July the 20th was one of recognition of a job well done, but perseverance too there. Anybody that read the article on Matt, it's a 216-kilometer ride from downtown Toronto to the Greenwood Cemetery. And anybody that does remember back on July the 20th, it was one of the most horrible, windy, rainy days we've had in a long time. I actually got up that morning and I knew he was doing this ride. And I thought, you know what, he could have backed out at any time. But Matt, being a Vokes, put his head down and got the ride done. He did it for his father, Larry, who passed away 10 years ago to ALS. And I know with numerous breakdowns and the rain and the wind that he persevered and got it done. I just thought it was worthy of us as a township recognizing this was done. I imagine everybody's read the article. It was in the Sun-Times. The Vokes name was a well-known name in the Georgian Bluffs area. And I just thought it was worth recognizing Matt and the feat that he'd done for ALS and a tribute to his father after 10 years of passing. So that was what I thought was some good news and perseverance by an individual.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle, and congratulations, Matt. Job well done. So we'll move on for agenda. We no public hearings. Delegation, Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the agenda reflects, we did have one delegation registered for this evening. Unfortunately, Mr. Davidson has been called away to deal with a family emergency, therefore could not appear in front of council this evening. He will be rescheduling for a meeting date in September.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I'll move on the agenda. We're down to the consent agenda. Does any member of council wish to pull any items off our consent agenda? Seeing none. The recommendation is that the Council of Township of Georgian Bluffs adopt the consent agenda for information as circulated. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Barfoot, second by Councillor Colburn. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? A show of hands, all in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. We're down to correspondence. Sorry, I was trying to catch up to my agenda here. We have one piece of correspondence from some concerned consistents of the township CA recruitment. Does council have any comments? Councillor Barfoot first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to thank the ratepayers that have sent this letter in. As a counselor, we're sometimes muzzled and we can't voice frustrations. But I think they maybe captured a lot of our frustrations in their letter. So to all of you people, doing the best that I can, that we can. But thank you very much for your letter, and certainly I'm sure the rest of council is will agree with me.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councilor Barfoot. Councilor Coburn, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to council and to the ratepayers who submitted the letter. Just to echo Councilor Barfoot's remarks, I also appreciate that this level of active engagement by our ratepayers. It tells me they're paying attention and that they're free of apathy, and that I find encouraging. And I just want to let them know that we will do our level best to recruit a CAO that will be effective in moving the municipality forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coburn. Does Deputy Mayor Carlton?
Thank you. I too would like to thank them for the letter. And I agree, there's a level of frustration we feel with everything we've been going through in this last few years. And we will try our very best as council to ensure we get a CAO in place that carries forward for a number of years without all these changes. So thanks for the letter.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The township continues to work with Phillips Consulting to recruit a new permanent CEO to lead the township into the future. Council is dedicated to serve our community to the highest standard and intent to source a CAO that shares that passion. We thank the public for the continued participation in the council process. As the recruitment process continues and more information may be released, council will ensure all information that may be shared will be shared with the public in accordance with the privacy laws. So we're now down to committee reports. I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on August 11th, 2021 be adopted, including recommendation COW 2021-077 to COW 2021-084. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Coburn, second by Councilor Pringle. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, a show of hands, all in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. And I'm rushing to catch up. We are down to staff reports. The first one is in the clerk's department. I have a recommendation here that the report LEG 2021 Line Fences Act RSO 1990 be received for information, and that committee hereby supports exercising Section 98 of the Municipal Act 2001 to enact that the Line Fences Act 1990 shall not apply in Georgian and Bluffs in its entirety, with the exception of Section 20 of said act, and that a bylaw to authorize said authorization be presented at the September 8th, 2021 meeting of council. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Barfoot, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. Mr. Lewis, go ahead. Speak to the person.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through yourself to council, where I see Brittany's rapidly scanning away here, bringing up a presentation on the Lines Fences Act. If she could just go to the next slide. This is just the agenda of what we're going to go through. But I think we can skip over that and go to the next one. Okay, Lines Fences Act overview. Lines Fences Act provides a dispute resolution procedure between the owners of adjoining properties in most of Ontario. Line fences are fences that mark the boundary. So this was established a long time ago to do like separating farmlands. Okay, it wasn't really, a situation like we have today where we have farm properties, municipal properties that we're dealing with. They're often referred to as boundary or division fences. The Act does not deal with fences that are not on a boundary line. That's very important to keep in mind when you're dealing with fences. We have a lot of people call us, want us to solve their boundary line disputes. It's quite clear the municipality should not be involved in that. That's a civil matter, and that's between the two property owners. The arbitration of fencing disputes is the responsibility of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs in Ontario and the unorganized territories. You can learn more about the procedure by contacting the minister. Next slide, please, Brittany. When it applies, the arbitration procedure only applies to two situations. Where the owner is unable to reach an agreement, where no fence currently exists as a boundary between the two properties, and one owner wants a new fence to be constructed to mark the boundary, or where a line fence already exists and the owner believes that it needs to be reconstructed or repaired. In such a case, an owner can ask the municipality to assign fence viewers to resolve the dispute, issue a decision known as an award. Fence viewers are appointed by the municipality and somebody with a broad knowledge of the community. Go ahead, Brittany. Line Fences Act and when it applies. The fence viewers.
Tim, if I may interrupt, we're having trouble hearing you. I'm not sitting
Can you hear me now?
Microphone.
Can you hear me?
That's better, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's better.
Try that. Okay, the Line Fences Act, when the act applies, 3 fence viewers are requested to be present at a viewing, and they are the only authorized to address one or both of the following issues: the apportionment of responsibility for fence work between the two adjoining owners, and the description of the fence that is to be constructed or reconstructed on the boundary line, including the materials to be used. The last line that I just read, we already have that covered in another bylaw that deals with, what's supposed to be done with fences and, what materials can be used. After the viewing, the fence viewers issue an award and allocate the costs of the proceedings between the two owners. Next one, please, Brett. Line Fences Act, when the act does not apply, the arbitration procedure is not applicable if one person on their own initiative has constructed a new line fence or has reconstructed or repaired an entire existing fence line and then wants to use the arbitration procedure to force the adjoining property owner to pay part of the cost of the completed work. So if I want to have somebody share in the cost of the fence, according to this act, I can't do anything until the fence viewers come out and take a look at it, okay, and see what has to go on. The arbitration procedure only deals with disputes about fences. It does not determine the location or the boundary line between adjoining properties. Boundary line disputes must be resolved by the owners themselves. Municipalities and their fence viewers have no jurisdiction to deal with the boundary issues. Next one, please, Brittany. As many municipal staff members and fence viewers are aware, property owners involved in a boundary dispute often approach the municipality in hopes that that matter can be viewed without the need for them to obtain legal advice or a survey. It all comes back to cost, right? A municipal council has the authority to pass a bylaw to exempt all or part of the municipality from the act they're referring to as the Line Fences Act, and instead pass a bylaw assigning the costs of line fences between the owners. So basically what we're looking at doing is what would be referred to as an apportionment bylaw. So that bylaw would set out some guidelines saying, okay, there'd only be a couple of varied situations, but in that situation, the owners would split it 50-50, or the responsibility would be 100% on the other person. However, the bylaw is written up, we haven't gotten to that point yet. The purpose of enlightening you about this act is to show that it really doesn't do what we want to do today. Okay. In its time, it was a very good tool when it first came out, but most properties are fenced. Most properties have a survey now, and it's not too often that I have somebody come and say, hey, you know, I want my neighbor to pay for half my fence that's going up. So we think we could better streamline the process, make it quicker, still make it fair by doing an apportionment bylaw. Next page, Brittany. Although many property owners approach the local municipality about line fence matters, they're usually able to reach an agreement with their neighbor without the need for a formal viewing. An informal discussion between a municipal staff member or the adjoining owners can often help to resolve the dispute, especially if the owners are not on good terms. In addition, owners normally become more willing to resolve their disputes themselves once they're made aware that they were required to pay for the viewing and its related cost. Well, they don't want to pay is the reason that we're saying maybe we should be getting out of this, because they're looking for us to resolve their line fence issues, like, you know, trying to avoid a survey and the legal costs associated with that. So next slide, Brittany. An owner who's dissatisfied has the right to appeal. They have to pay to appeal it. And this just outlines the procedure for how they would appeal it. Next one, Brittany. And this just goes into the forms that are required. So this was kind of motivated by the clerk's department because we enforce the bylaws. We got involved, and I support Brittany's idea of bringing this forward and kind of bringing us up to date with where we're at with dealing with fences within the municipality. We can keep the bylaw fair to all parties that are involved, and we can streamline the process and reduce the cost of the municipality by not having, you know, 5 or 6 people involved. And subject to any questions, Your Worship, that's it.
Thank you, Tim, for a good job, and thank you, Brittany. Does council members have any comments or questions? Councilor Barfoot, I believe I see your hand.
Thank you very much for explaining that, Tim. I just have a couple questions, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Barfoot.
Okay. We've had this happen in the past where a farmer does not have adequate fencing for his livestock, and livestock does not necessarily mean cattle. It could be horses, it could be pigs, it could be llamas, it could be whatever. Does the township have the power to force that landowner or that farmer to put up adequate fencing to control his livestock?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Barfoot. Councillor Barfoot, I've looked at, and I'm sure Brittany has too, a number of different apportionment bylaws. Some of them take different approaches. I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like, you know, I guess to cut to the chase, if you have livestock, it doesn't matter what kind it is, it would be nice. We had a situation just last year, I'm sure that's what you're referring to, where we had a lot of complaints about the gentleman's livestock getting out on the road, and it would have been nice if we could have forced him to put the fence up faster than he did. So we may be able to get our wording to be applicable to that situation. That would be, you know, the apportionment of things, right? You know, who's going to pay for it, and who's going to put it up, right? So again, that's why the apportionment bylaw would be more appropriate and quicker than what's in place now.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, if I may be allowed, this fencing.
Go ahead, Carol.
Fencing, the questions I'm asking are things that have happened in the past, and I want to know how this new Line Fences Act is going to deal it. Okay, this will have no impact on our fencing bonus. What about, okay, will this act have anything to do with the responsibility the municipality has for paying a fencing bonus along the rail trail?
Brittany, I do not see Tim here, so could you answer that, please?
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
still
Mayor.
Oh,
And
sorry, Tim.
Through you to Councillor Barfoot, as part of the exemption process, it is mandated that a municipality cannot exempt themselves from maintaining fences or erecting fences on the rail trail. That is part of the legislation. So therefore, Councillor Barfoot, no, it will not impact that process.
Thank you, Brittany. Did that answer your question, Councillor Barfoot?
Yes, and I understand to be eligible for any fencing bonus, you have to be a farmer, not a hobby farmer, but a whatever.
Bona fide farmer, yes.
Yeah. Is that correct?
I believe it is. I don't know who could answer that. Madam Clerk, or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, that is correct. You do have to be a bona fide farmer.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much, Brittany.
Thank you, Councillor Barfoot. Welcome, Councillor Thompson and Councillor Sutherland. Is there any other questions from council? Seeing none, in that case, I'll call for all in favor of the motion before us. Show of hands, please. The motion is carried. Okay, moving on for agenda. Go down to operations for those that joined us. I have a recommendation here that report OPS 2021-41 regarding supply and stockpile of winter sand be received, and that RFT 2021-14 for supply and stockpiling of winter sand be awarded to Walker Aggregate HSC Limited at a price of $15 per ton. The Director of Operations, Mr. Domer, go ahead, comment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think you have to ask to put it on the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if you were awake. Could I have something to move, put on the floor, please? Moved by Councillor Pringle, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. Now, Mr. Domer, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to council, operations department went out to tender to get stockpiling of the Sarawak shed, salt dome, or the shed sand dome that we normally do for the winter season. This year, we actually had, the price came in about $2.30 more a ton, but overall, the price is a lot less than what we are spending from last year, as the dome was emptied out into the other two domes of Keppel and Derby shops. So now we have a blank empty spot at Sarawak for 3,000 tons. So this is used for our winter operations that we do from October 1st to April 30th. But, you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that winter season won't start till January. So that being said, we're just waiting for council to give us approval so that we can award this to Walker Aggregates so that we can get our sand dome up and loaded. Also, this material is also shared between the county of Grey. When they do use the material for their roads of Grey Road 1 and Grey Road 17, they do pay the township the price of when they do use the material.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions of council? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion, show of hands, please. The motion has been carried. Moving on, I will now read the recommendation that the report OPS 2021-42 purchase of a zero-turn lawnmower be received, and that the tender for the supply of one new commercial grade zero-turn lawnmower be awarded to Huron Tractor at a price of $23,000 for a 2021 John Deere 997R. Someone to move to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Sutherland. Mr. Domer, before I open the floor up to council for questions, I do not have the screen open up. Does this include HST?
This does not include HST. HST will be extra.
Okay, fine. Questions of council? Go ahead, Steve. Sorry, you comment first.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to council. Operations Department went out to tender. 4 tenders were received on the zero-turn mower. They are included within the staff report here. We are going to be going with Huron Tractor as the low bid, as one of the other bids was not qualified as per our tender spec. With this being said, this it will be replacing a current used model that we do have that we'll be allocating to the airport for the time being until we figure out what our next steps are at the airport. Once we do figure out what the next steps at the airport, that unit will be auctioned off through Gov Deals for anybody to bid on it, so that we can kind of keep the surplus, moving all the old equipment out of here, so that we're not keeping a surplus of equipment kicking around the yards and collecting dust and stuff. So right now, we're looking just to reallocate the older model up to the airport to use it until we figure out our next steps with the airport. And then, like I said, this will be for the Parks Department to continue on their maintenance program of the level service within the parks.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a big turnaround to receive this piece of equipment, or is it available?
It is available and it has a sticker on our name. We're just waiting for council to approve this.
Okay. Questions of council? Seeing none? Okay, we're going to vote on the motion before us. Show of hands, all in favor of the motion, please. The motion is carried. Thank you, Steve. Moving on for agenda, we're down to public question periods. Madam Clerk, did any members of public's registered? No. Seeing none? We've no bylaws, no other bylaws. Unfinished business. We're down to new business. Councilor Barfoot, do you have your hand up?
Councillor Barfoot, you are muted.
At the last meeting, I'd requested that the clerk provide us with an I don't know what you call it, an occurrence sheet. I would like to know how busy our security company is that's helping out with our bylaws and rules and regulations. I had a ratepayer that told me he phoned them about 4 months ago, and they never got back to him because he actually has the long distance number. And, you know, somebody up here from the city, how do they know who to phone? Somebody asked me that and I said, I have no idea.
Thank you, Councilor Barfoot. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And in response to Councillor Barfoot's request, we have reached out to our bylaw enforcement team, being JSS, to provide us with exactly that information, which will be presented for council's information in September.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And can you respond to where a person could get a hold of these people?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as previously communicated to the public, and as we continue to try and communicate as best as we can to the public regarding our partnership with JSS, if an individual simply calls the township office and dials the one tone or one selection that they are then prompted to select after or on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, they will then be auto forwarded to JSS. I will tell you, I do have weekly communications with JSS, and it does seem as though they are quite busy. And I have seen an uptick in bylaw enforcement issues being wrapped up, I guess I should say. But I will have that information presented to council in September.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilor Barfoot, that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Brittany.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I'll carry on with the agenda before us. First item is council and the committee of whole commencement times. I believe Councilor Sullivan, you can speak to this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. I was going to ask council and staff about changing times, but we have changed. Brittany has told me it's been 3 times we've changed in this term, I believe, or maybe in the last year. So I think I'll wait, and if we can, give some serious consideration before the next term of council, and put something in place so that the new term of council decides what time works best for all of them. I still am struggling to make a 5 o'clock meeting, especially in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's not as bad. So I think it might be a little better for the public, but we'll wait until a new term of council comes in, if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Deputy Mayor Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question to Councillor Sutherland and perhaps some Councillors Pringle and Thompson. If 5 o'clock is difficult for all of you, I would have no problem seeing a change because it needs to work for all of us. We really need to all be here, I think, at all these meetings. So if even a half hour, 1 hour later would help any of you, I think it's important for all of us to consider now. So thank you.
Thank you. I think I tend to agree with what Councillor Sullivan is saying, that I think we should wait until the next term of council before we start changing our time again. And I would like council to really think too that this 5 o'clock time is trying to fit our staff's time too. The staff are most generally done at 4:30, so it gives them an opportunity to stay in the municipal office for half an hour extra instead of having to go home and then come back. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of different issues we have to think about on this item. So if there are no other questions, Councillor Barfoot?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just further to the Deputy Mayor's comment, I can pretty well accommodate any time except in the daytime. Most of my medical appointments are in the daytime. But I would like to remind the existing council and those that are planning on running for council that they should be taking into consideration the times, you know, and new councilors, perhaps on our remuneration committee, we should be stressing this. When you sign up for council, we can't keep changing the times.
We're going to get into a discussion on this particular thing tonight. It was just something Councillor Sutherland brought up, but he's withdrawn it for now until a new council comes in. So really, I don't think we should discuss it here tonight because it is quite a long topic. So I think we'll move on with our agenda. And we're down to a comment on the hybrid meetings. Madam Clerk, go ahead so we can start. I'm tired of being in this council chambers by myself, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As formally discussed, we are preparing to welcome council into chambers once again for a hybrid style of meeting. Now, given the spacing limitations that we do have in our chambers and the space that is limited, we would likely only be permitted to welcome 5 members back at a time, which would then leave 2 members to participate virtually. Given the spacing around the horseshoe, we only have space for 5 members at one time, which is how I would recommend we move forward, at least for now. Now, we have seen a slight uptick in cases throughout the province recently, so I do envision that I envision, but I hope not, that maybe we will see some tightening of restrictions when it comes to the fall and when children go back to school, but we'll take it in stride. And for now, we can accommodate hybrid meetings commencing in September. I would ask that every member please reach out as to their preferred method of participation, being in person or virtual. Unfortunately, as we can only welcome 5 members back, it will likely be on a first come, first served basis. So if you can please just touch base with me before every meeting in September so we can accommodate at least 5 of you with 2 members of staff in council chambers.
Thank you, Brittany. And am I to assume that the first meetings in September is what you're suggesting?
That is correct. It would commence September 1st and run throughout September.
Thank you. Okay, and comments from council? Seeing none, I think everybody understands what you're recommending. Councillor Pringle, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, just a suggestion there. Was there maybe a rotation we could do with people coming into council? if we could set up a rotation schedule or something, make it a little, and if we knew in advance when we could go in or not be in, that would maybe help. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I see your hand up, Deputy Mayor?
You did, but I was thinking much the same as Councillor Pringle. Is there a rotation, or are there certain ones that would prefer to stay at home and not go in at all, and that might free it up for others to be there all the time?
Okay. Councillor Sullivan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As much as I do want to get back to the Council of Chambers, I'm willing to stay at home if it makes it easier. It is a little bit quicker for me to be able to get to the meetings. So if that's the case, I will stay at home until we can accommodate everybody there. If that makes it easier, I have no issues with that.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Colburn?
Same for me, Mr. Mayor. I have the technology for a home setup. I'm happy to be at home if that will accommodate more folks to attend in person.
Thank you, Councillor Colburn. I've been sitting in this council chamber for such a long time by myself. It'd be quite different to see somebody else in here with me. But anyway, Madam Clerk, are you hearing these comments?
I am, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Council for being open and flexible as we move through the remainder of the pandemic, which, I think we can all say we hope to see the conclusion of shortly. But with that being said, I appreciate Councillor Colbert and Councillor Sutherland's comments and being willing to participate from home. I will say that as things continue to evolve and grow, we may amend these procedures or we may tighten them again. I'm unsure which direction we're moving in, but for now we will have Councillor Colbert and Councillor Sutherland participate from home until the time we determine it's appropriate to have a cycle of councillors moving through the chambers. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, I'll move on for agenda. Does any member wish to bring a notice of motion forward at this time? Seeing none? I'm going to move down to our closed session then. I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Township of Georgian Bluffs move into closed session at 5:50 p.m. The CEO and clerk to discuss one, personal information about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Barfoot. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may, I respectfully request a small amendment to the motion on the floor, being removal of myself from these conversations. I have delegated my authority to the CAO to become acting clerk for the duration of closed session.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, show of hands, please. The motion is carried. We give a chance to make sure the live stream's off and the clerk has left the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, you are required to move from this to your closed session, please.
Oh, sorry. Everybody knows that, eh?
I'm on it. Okay, Mr. Mayor, we are now live. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We went in camera to discuss only what we went in camera to discuss, nothing more. I have a motion here. The bylaw 2021-57 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of August 25th, 2021 be, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you could please report out of closed session prior to commencing the confirming bylaw.
Sorry, I'd already read it once. That's why I didn't do it again. Sorry. Council went into closed session to discuss matters under open meeting exemption B of section 239 of the Municipal Act. As a result of closed session discussions, direction was provided by council. Okay. Now we'll move on with our recommendation. The bylaw 2021-57 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of August 25th, 2021 be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed to corporation and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move, put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councilor Pringle, second by Councilor Sutherland. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. Date of our next regular meeting is September 1. Madam Clerk, we may be calling a special call meeting for Monday, but Al will talk to you about that. So if there's no other business here tonight, I need a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Carlton, are you moving the motion?
I was going to ask about the Derby for Saturday night. Do we have sufficient people to be going to that?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm glad you mentioned that because I did want to ask. We're down to 5 people for the session from 6 to 10. I'm hoping that Councillor Pringle, Grant, Sue, Ryan, Kathy, and myself will be able to attend. So please confirm if you can attend. Councillor Thompson?
I might be questionable because since I have confirmed 4-H is having their day on Saturday and my son is showing a sheep. So I'm pretty questionable.
Okay, so Sue? Yes? Grant?
I'll be there.
And I believe Kathy, you indicated you might or might not? No?
It's not looking good for me, Mr. Mayor. Apologies.
So that leaves Councillor Barfoot?
I'll go in for the shift change at 10 o'clock to get everybody going, but you need 7. Now, and they all have to have Smart Serve. And Lisa Downey always did cash. So,
Lisa has indicated she cannot attend.
oh darn.
I will talk to Ken tomorrow and tell him what the prediction we have, and then I'll work with Ken to see if we can still the remaining part of our team.
Yeah, well, I sort of mentioned to Ken that I would do the shift change. Now, Sue has done the liquor bar before. You've got your Smart Serve, Sue, so
Yes,
you're
Carol, I'll talk to Ken about this tomorrow, and then and we'll go from there.
so it's 6 o'clock on Saturday night, right?
Yes, it is. I'll contact everybody anyway after I talk to Ken tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
So we know the business here. A motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Sullivan, second by Councillor Barfoot. All in favor, show of